South Africa in South Africa Test series, is that as big a test as you can get for a team in rugby?
Yeah, certainly at the moment it is. Yeah, they obviously world champions. They've good continuity in their playing group. They know what they stand for, and I'd say there's a lot of confidence in their group at the moment. So it's a massive challenge for us to be away from home, to be down here. But our boys are looking forward to it.
They named their team earlier on this afternoon. 20 of the 23 were involved in the World Cup final in some capacity. It doesn't seem like you're going to be naming any kind of a weekend team at the weekend. There's no sense that this is a year one of a 4-year cycle and people are going to be experimenting this weekend.
No, I suppose not. I got a quick glance at their team, and that's it's a big thing for any team that's successful. I think is that kind of continuity. You look at any of the club sides that have been successful in recent times; they've kind of continuity of coaching, continuity of players, continuity of leadership. So they're certainly in a strong position, and it's an excellent side they've named.
How much work have you done? Well, I suppose you're always doing it, but the line out against South Africa last time in the World Cup, they had real success taking you on at the line out, particularly in the first half.
Yeah.
How big a factor is that going to be again this weekend?
It's always a big factor against them. They're an excellent set piece side. They're an excellent line out side. They always have been. Cut us out at the start of the game in the World Cup, and it was pretty disappointing. It was frustrating. I was delighted with how the players kind of managed their way through it and got through it. But it'll always be a challenge. I think, two of their line-out operators, Mossart and Etzebeth, are two of the best of the business. Etzebeth in particular is very good at the front of the line-out. Mossart generally covers everything at the back of the line-out. So they're a really good side, and I suppose we've been a little bit specific about them, but it's mainly been about doing our stuff a little bit better across the board. And boys enjoy doing that. We enjoy focusing on ourselves. I think you have to have a focus on the opposition and what they're going to do, but by and large we focus on ourselves probably a little bit more than we did back in my playing days, and I think the boys enjoy that, and I certainly enjoyed it as a coach as well.
And just finally then, as you compare to your playing days, Irish players and Irish teams are getting a lot more used to coming out here to play matches. Do you think that, with the way the URC is at the moment, is a benefit to you to have that a little bit more experience of coming out to altitude, playing games at either Loftus or in Johannesburg or around the place?
Yeah, I think playing the South African teams, that's what the European Cup gave us at the start, was playing French teams, playing English teams, realising what the standard was, and the South African teams have been a brilliant addition in terms of they play differently. They all play differently, but they all have that certain South African identity as well, around set piece, around maul, around scrum, and I think it's been really good for our players to have to learn to deal with that challenge and to have to train and prepare for it every week. And I suppose they bring in a certain amount then of that intelligence into our camp when we come together. So I think it's raised the standard of the URC massively. And I think it's probably tough spending more time away from home. When you play in France or you play in England, you're probably away for a day or two. But I think a lot of the provinces have enjoyed when they have to go down to South Africa for 2 weeks. They kind of they become like an international side. They stay in a hotel for 2 weeks and they get to do a lot of work with the players rather than the players going home in the evening. So I know a lot of the provinces have gotten benefit from that. And any time there's good coaching and improvements happening in the provinces, it always bleeds into us and helps us.
In the past, South African teams used to play in the Southern Hemisphere, and now we're playing in the URC, and it kind of like levels this thing. We are all towards the end of our season, so there's no way to hide in terms of who's fresher, who's a bit more tired. How important is it in this test to just prove that nobody has anything to hide?
Yeah, I think, look, we're lucky in terms of how we manage the players. It's probably been a long year, but the players have gotten plenty of time off in the year. Weeks where you're not training, you're not playing, you don't have almost the mental pressure that comes with a game. And then players tend to be on different journeys. Some players, were out of things a little bit earlier, so got a little bit of time and got that mental break and that physical break. Some guys pick up an injury during the year and they get their break there. So, whenever we've come on tour in the last few years, or whenever we've come together after a particularly heavy period with the provinces, we've always noticed our players. There's never a feeling that we have to manage them or manage their load, and we haven't felt that over here. I suppose the travel, we're just being a little bit careful with the travel. We arrived in 2 groups at kind of different times, and we were careful in that first session, but we haven't changed how we've trained a whole lot in terms of, if this was a November or if this was a Six Nations. So, and I think Andy and the staff would have a good feel for that in terms of being able to change that, but we haven't felt we had to. So players feel fresh and they feel good and they feel ready. And, I know that South Africa now, a few of their players are away and play in France, but a lot of them are home based as well, and they get that chance to manage them and manage their load as well. So there won't be an asterisk after the result anyway saying who was fresher and who was less fresh. So it is what it is.
The confrontation at the breakdown, how important is it for you to control the conditions?
Well, breakdown has become a massive part of the game everywhere. You look at the French final last week, you look at the European Cup final, you look at France playing at the moment, you look at South Africa playing. It's a real battlefield. It's gone back a little bit old school, where teams are a lot more willing to risk putting numbers into the breakdown and creating a little bit of havoc in that breakdown. I think teams have gotten very good at pick and choosing their moments based on the position of the field that a team is in to go after certain breakdowns. They're very good at sensing a little bit of vulnerability, whether it's numbers, whether it's someone with a bad body shape at a ruck. The decision making at the breakdown has almost become like the decision making that players have with ball in hand, or the decision making that players have to do when they're attacking. And it's a big challenge for us. Any time you play South Africa, the breakdown is always a big challenge, because our boys really enjoy it as well. With some excellent poachers, some real good counter ruckers, very good decision makers at the breakdown. So it'll be a big part of the game at the weekend.
Boks just named a team that got with a 6-2 split, very forward heavy. You know what's coming. Does this change how you guys are approaching this week, or more the same?
No, it probably doesn't change how we approach the week. You have an awareness of it, and we have to select for what we have and prepare for how we want to play and what we want to do in that second half. So, probably doesn't change our preparation massively.